Hi, you're listening to the Fresh Start podcast, and this is episode number 24. Hello, hello, hello. It's Wednesday, January 21st, and I'm Marcia, and I'm here alone today because Stacy has life happening. You know how that happens, life? She's a busy girl this week, and we have an amazing interview with my friend Annie Mosher coming up, so there's no reason to wait on that. We're going to just dive into this interview here in just a second. But first, I hope you guys are having a good January. I hope that you're getting a good start to the year. You know, a lot of people, when the beginning of the year hits, one of the first things they do is they want to talk about renewing a commitment to exercise. Well, I was one of those people, except that I decided to start doing it last fall. I started early, and I started with Annie, and she has really made a huge difference in my life personally, and so I knew that I wanted to get her on so she could kind of talk through some new and inventive ways to approach exercise. Because we all need to do it. We have to move our bodies. If we're not moving, we're not moving. There is some sort of saying. I don't know what it is. Anyway, we got to move or we'll lose it. Move it or lose it. Maybe that's it. Anyway, you guys are going to love Annie. And I want to just tell you a little bit about her and her work. First of all, before I get into her bio here, she is an amazing singer-songwriter. I saw her recently at a house concert, and I was blown away. This woman has a gift. So if you are ever in the area and you see that she's playing at the Bluebird or wherever, go see Annie Mosher. But for today's purposes, this is her bio. Annie is a trauma-informed bodywork specialist and a drug and alcohol counselor in Supervision in the state of Tennessee. She brings a deeply integrative, compassionate approach to addiction recovery, grounded in the belief that healing occurs when the body, mind, and spirit are all welcomed into the process. Annie began her work in substance use disorder recovery years ago as a trauma-informed personal trainer and bodywork specialist through the American Council on Exercise. As her practice evolved, she became a behavior change specialist, supporting clients in exploring the root causes of their patterns, their pain, and desires in order to create meaningful and lasting change. For the past 7 years, Annie has worked within recovery residences, offering individual and group fitness, experiential healing, and somatic support. Her work weaves together reiki, breath and body awareness, goal setting, and strength and flexibility work to help clients reconnect with safety, agency, and vitality in their bodies. Compassion is at the heart of Annie's practice. She approaches each client as a whole and limitless being, unique, resilient, and worthy of care. Attending to the individual needs of each client's body and spirit is foundational to her work, both in recovery for addiction and in life beyond it. So I can attest to all of that. She has been a godsend to me, and I'm so glad to be able to call her my friend, and I'm so glad to get to share this conversation that Stacy and I had with the wonderful Annie Mosher. All right, welcome Annie to the Fresh Start podcast. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you, Marcia. I'm happy to be here. I just survived a week of the flu that's run rampant a little bit, and it was very humbling, and I'm so happy to be here with my tea and feeling better.
I'm so glad you're feeling better. I know a lot of people. Mike just got over bronchitis and pneumonia, and have you been sick, Stacy? Or you had a bad cold?
Yeah, I did. Dave was sick, and then I was sick. Absolutely, we've had a lot going around down here in Florida too.
It's the time of year, and it's also the time of year of people making New Year's resolutions. Now, we talked about this last week on the podcast. Stacy and Melissa and I are not big on New Year's resolutions. What about you, Annie? Are you a New Year's resolution kind of person?
I mean, that's shifting. I used to love a fresh calendar. I love, let me get my favorite pen and I'm going to approach taxes differently. And so that was always really exciting. And as I get older, I feel that this time of year is just still hibernating for me.
Mm,
So I often notice that in my clients too. It's a great time of year to say, okay, we're going to attack this. We're going to have, new year, new me.
hmm
But really, we're just kind of getting over all the stuff that comes with the holidays,
hmm
the good, the bad, the ugly, and sort of still making quiet internal plans for what's next. So that's how I feel lately is let's just ease in.
Yeah, it's January is recovery mode for me.
Honestly. Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think every day right now is recovery mode, Marsha. It's
Truly.
all we can do.
Well, Stacey,
Truly.
you were saying though last week that you don't wait till the New Year's to make a resolution. Like if you decide something in your life needs to change, why wait till the new year? Like let's just do it now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just move right into it. Like Tai Chi last year, I was like, I think I'm going to try Tai Chi. All right, let's
Yeah,
give it a whirl.
yeah, yeah. And I sort of did that last fall. I just hit a wall. I was like, okay, I can't even stand at the sink and do dishes without being in pain. So I've got to do something to change, my health somehow. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Kim Parent, who reminded me about Annie and that Annie had worked with her and her husband and that she did some personal training. And my first thought with personal training, and I told Annie this, I've had bad experiences with personal training. I just thought, I've had these like gym bros, I call them, you go in there and they're like, okay, get on the floor and do 25 sit-ups, and then they sit on their phone while you're doing one, two, three. And I'm like, I hate this. I cannot participate in exercise like this. It's boring. It's not fun. I don't want to do it. I had such a negative mindset towards exercise. And I was struggling because my back was hurting so bad. I couldn't really walk. I couldn't get outside and do exercise that's fun. And so Kim said, Annie's your girl. Call Annie. And I called Annie and she said, well, let's just go talk for a couple of hours before we start this. And I thought, okay, now that's an interesting way to start, training. But what was your thought about that? Annie, why did you want to sit down and talk with me about my life before you even decided if you were going to take me on as a client, really?
Yeah, I remember that day we met. Um, and I feel like it's such a tender process and relationship, really, kind of being honored by the fact that you or any client would want to work with me and
Mm,
explore the body and your own potential. And it's very different for everybody. Like moving forward into physical fitness because we're all bodies with some trauma and stories. It looks really different client by client.
mm,
And, the truth is, I ain't for everybody. So I thought, well, it's always good for me to sit and hear where a client is and what their history is with athletics or fitness or pain or surgeries and kind of maybe step our way into the big question that is, what do you really want? And is that something I can be helpful with?
mhm.
And it's perfectly okay. I let my clients know it's perfectly okay as we have that conversation to both sort of figure out, well, gosh, what do I want? What do you want? And is this going to work for us?
Mhm.
And that's, like I said, it's delicate, it's tender, it's
Mhm.
trusting somebody else to walk that path a little ways with you toward feeling better.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal. So I always like to sit and get to know the person and let them see me a little too.
Yeah.
That's important for safety.
Oh, yeah. I loved that. And I loved that you were like, okay, once we decided to start working together, you said, okay, you were asking about my life and like, when do you have pain? What are you doing when you have pain? So let's like attack those areas. Like I told you, I said, I can't stand in the kitchen, and do dishes for 10 minutes without my back hurting. And she goes, okay, that's going to be our first goal. We're going to figure out how you can just stand at the sink without being in pain. And I wanted literally tears started to come in my eyes because I thought, this is such a different way to approach getting fit rather than just someone saying, okay, we're going to do 14 sit-ups and 25 push-ups. And, you were like, let's take your life and make it better.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember that moment, and it felt so good to connect together on that too, because, there's a reason for pain. Pain is an announcement in the body, and sometimes it's an announcement that you need some medical attention, or sometimes, it's an announcement that the glutes need attention, or whatever it is. And it's the place I like to start with clients is what hurts or what feels really scary right now about movement, and about healing. And I remember that with you. That was a number one goal, which is what's happening when you're standing that's creating pain, and what's going on. Let's start there. Yeah.
So tell us more. Like, how is that going, Marcia?
I told Mike at Christmas time this year, I was able to, you know how it is Christmas morning. You get up, you're cooking, you're in the kitchen for hours. You're cooking, you're washing dishes, you're cooking or washing dishes. It was the first time in years that I can remember not having to I'm not going to say that there was absolutely no pain, because we're still baby stepping our way, which is another thing we're going to talk about. But it was the first time that I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, I've just got to go sit down. My back is killing me. I did sit down a couple of times, but it was only because I was like, okay, I'm not going to push this to the point. But I noticed a huge difference in how my body felt, just trying to work my way around the kitchen and cook. And even just, I've noticed that I can walk farther before I'm hurting. It's baby steps, but that's what I've loved about with Annie, because she's like, okay, like I told her too many times, I just go into it and I end up hurting myself, because I do too much too quick, because I am an all or nothing person. And I'm one of those people where, okay, I'm going to try this. That used to be, I'm going to work out every day. And then if I miss a day, I'm like, well, screw it. I blew it. I'm not even going to try anymore. And Annie's like, no, that's where we need to start talking about your mindset. So talk about that a little bit, Annie, about like changing the way your brain is thinking about exercise.
Yes, to me, that's most of my job. And my hope for my clients is let's work together until you get to a point where you're feeling better and you can take off more and more on your own. That's really important, and it becomes intrinsic fully. But the mindset, I was that way always. I grew up in gymnastics, and man, I pushed until everything hurt. And if your shins hurt, you get out there and you wrap them up and you go on ahead. And that was sort of my athletic background, the basketball, gymnastics, and it really bred a lot of shame. And I saw it in other women, especially in athletics and in the gym. There's mirrors everywhere, there's scales everywhere, and there's constant markers of what we've come to learn is failure or success. And we're just such a tender bunch of human beings with different needs and stories bumping around trying to fit the same mold. It's just not going to work. And most of it was prescriptive for me growing up. And still I see that in some training programs. It's here's a piece of paper, and it's got all of your prescription for what you're going to do to get fit and well. And sometimes clients feel like, oh, thank goodness, because I just don't know what to do in the gym or at home. I'm so glad to have this paper. But usually that has like a beginning and a middle and an end. So you might start doing it in January, and by March, the paper's gone under the couch somewhere, and you lose motivation. Because usually what I've found is the things that have been written down for you don't feel good. They're either hurting you, they're boring, or they're cutting into an already busy day. So step number one for me that you and I have worked carefully on, I think, Marcia, is how are we going to do this in a way that helps the body say yes to it rather than, oh, I got to do that stinking thing on the paper again, because it will get to that point. So, I love when clients make their own discoveries about, you know what, I'm shocked to learn that I hate walking. And here this whole time I've been choking down this prescription about you gotta walk. I can't stand to walk. And that is a great piece of information because you're finally telling the truth. And then we can say, wonderful. We got a lot of options for things that aren't walking or how to make walking palatable. So that's where I like to start is, why didn't the program work? Are you too busy? Is it boring? Does it hurt? All those questions come up for me, which is really important when you're taking on steps and goals in physical fitness.
Yeah, that's what I love when Annie comes over and we start our she doesn't like walk in and just say, okay, start doing this. She'll sit down and she'll say, let's talk a minute. Tell me about your week. Like, did you do, because she always gives me some homework, but it's nothing overwhelming. I mean, it's like 5 minutes of my day. And then I'll say, I didn't do it every day. And then she'll say, okay, let's talk about why. Why didn't you do it? And it makes me sit back and go, why didn't I do it? Like, was I too busy, or is it boring? And, as I answer these questions, and, I think our contract is that I have to be completely honest with you, and so, because if I'm not honest with her, she can't understand my motivation. She can't understand why I wouldn't carve out 5 minutes. I can't understand why I can't carve out 5 minutes or what it is, because I guess part of me thinks it's just, she wants me to do, 15, stand-ups. What do you call squats? 15 squats. That's all I got to do. 15 squats. That doesn't take any time. Why wouldn't I just find a time to do? And then she even said, okay, let's do this. Let's get a little, when you go to bed, she said, do you make up your bed every day? And I said, usually. And she goes, okay, so when you get in bed and as you pull back the covers, that's your cue. Did I do my 15 squats? And if you didn't, do it right then, right before you're going to bed. At least you're doing it, And I used to think, well, will it make that much difference? But it does. It really, just doing something little every day I started feeling better quickly. And I was like, all right, now I'm starting to get motivated because I'm starting to feel the difference. And I started feeling my body heal. And so that's what I want to talk about too, because you are all about healing, Annie. You're about healing the body and the brain and the soul, and you think it's all connected. So can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I love that too. I love that you're so zoned in with me too, Marcia. You're just making my job really easy. But I think some of this is a little bit for me of like maybe re-educating the nervous system, because the nervous system is a big part of why we do or don't do things. So there's no telling, if 15 squats become overwhelming and I have a client saying, nope, I agreed to do it every day and I did it once, then I think of it like, hey, you know what? That's the goal, not the client. We got to change what we're asking for, because there's something in my client that's resistant. Okay. And when resistance is in the body, I call that somatic congestion. It's a way for the body to just say, not doing it. And the why is important. And usually that's a spiritual issue or a nervous system issue. So we talk about that and try to banish shame. The old story is, oh my God, I didn't do it. I'm so embarrassed. It was 5 minutes and I just didn't do it. And I'm so sorry. People apologize for it or say, I'm just so lazy. And then starts the negative self-talk. But the truth is, no. There's something going on that is invaluable to figure out from the inside of your body, saying, I don't believe in myself, or, my days are long and exhausted and I feel depressed, and doing that just feels like it's not going to help. So maybe powerlessness. So we try to zone in on those big words. They're spirit words, and figure out what's the story that your body's telling, and let's change that up. So let's drop from 15 to 5 And if it's still a no, then we're shifting gears because we want to try to do something every day to build a new neural pathway. So your body gets up and says, yeah, every day I do this, even if it's 1 minute, even if it's only the 10 toe touches, every single day I do it. And then you're getting a chemical payoff. You're getting oxytocin. You're getting the neurotransmitters that are feel-good transmitters that help you celebrate. And we're designed that way. We're designed to do things that are good for us and then celebrate. So that's an important thing to notice is how do you feel after you did it every day for a week? Great, because you're getting the feel-good chemical. So we want more of that. Before we even talk about doing 20 minutes a day or 30, we want your the feel-good chemicals flowing through you more than the week before. That's where I like to focus.
It just seems so intuitive.
Yeah, it's intuitive, right? For my clients, yeah.
Is there something you do every day, Stacey, that's intuitive? Like you just don't even like it's just a non-negotiable for you that you do? I mean, obviously we have days where things mess up, but is there something like for me, I was telling Annie, like I get up every morning and I make my coffee. That's a non-negotiable. And I go out to my sunroom and I have some quiet time, whether I read a spiritual book or I read the Bible or I pray or whatever. And if I don't get that time, it doesn't feel right. And it's so ingrained in me that even if I miss a day, the next day I just go right back and do it. I don't even have to think, oh, I didn't do it yesterday. So, I guess I just won't do it today. Like that is ingrained in my brain. And, I would love for exercise to be that way. Like, okay, I didn't do it today. So, and what I'm learning from Annie is exercise doesn't have to be like I have to put on gym clothes, drive to the gym, work out for an hour, come home. It's not 30 minutes or not 3 hours of your day or anything. So I was wondering, do you have any of those non-negotiables already, Stacey, that you have?
I do. I also do the morning coffee and kind of that morning routine. I feel like my day has so much momentum to it. And once my day starts, like it goes until, the nighttime. So if I can just chill in the morning and just have time when I don't have to decide anything or don't have to do anything necessarily other than get my coffee and one of the animals and just sit and read or whatever it is that I want to do, then I love starting the day like that. If it's nice outside, listening to the birds and just being slow is good because I'm an Enneagram 8 and I am very much that. So what comes along with that eightness, I think, is the momentum. And if I don't have the awareness to like fit in Tai Chi, so I'm the person that I've always thought, okay, walking's the thing I need to do, but it's not always what I want to do. And it's hot in Florida, if you didn't know. It's either hot or it's raining, one of the two. So it's not always conducive to walking. And Tai Chi, I just felt like it was more of my jam, like I think I could do this, is this really going to work for me? And it is so grounding, which I think is something that I crave. And it's physical, but it's not physically so demanding, if that makes any sense. Like it feels like it flows and it's more of a flow. But with me, I also, if I stop doing it for a few days, then it takes a lot for me to restart. And that's kind of what I am up against in my own brain is how do it's not that I'm avoiding it, but it's like a pattern and I get out of the pattern. And then what do I do to get back in the pattern? So I wish I was better at that. I wish I was better at that maintaining because I'm kind of like you, Marcia. It's like all or nothing. And then I've got to restart again, which feels like a lot of work to restart. That
makes sense, Stacey. I love that you mentioned you're an Enneagram 8. That's fascinating to me. And I'm an Enneagram 7, which is usually the joy chaser. Let's go, let's have fun. Which in my line of work kind of translates to dopamine. Let's get all the dopamine. And it's funny because I'm learning that I'm much more likely to stick with those things that you're talking about, those habits, and stay with them daily when I'm not just running on dopamine, but when I also have some balance, which is for me quiet time. Sitting watching the birds gives me serotonin, which is also a feel-good chemical, but it keeps me serene and in a place of serenity rather than a place of explosive joy, which is where I am naturally happiest. I chase that. And man, when I come down into my serotonin, and I help my clients, I try to with that, asking about that. Like if I find a client like me, we identify the serotonin boosters, which is sunshine on the forehead, or taking a walk, or breathing, or giving a gift. Generosity is a huge serotonin builder. So we talk about all these things because we like that balance, and I need that. I need to focus there. And I'm much more than likely to say, wow, I am feeling equipped now to get back into my habit.
So what do you think about aging? Do we have to approach exercise different as we get older?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I still fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I'm going to run sprints again because that worked. That was good for me. No, it's just a joke for me right now. It hurts. I don't like it. It's not any fun. There's the Enneagram 7. But also, sprinting for me right now isn't, it just doesn't sound good or appealing, and it doesn't really serve what I'm looking for physically right now, just for me. So aging certainly has been an opportunity for me to say, gosh, I'm shifting, I'm changing, my hormones are changing, my body shape is changing, my relationship to aging is I'm trying for it to be wonderful, but some days it's terrible, So fitness to me has to shift with that, like flow, like Tai Chi. Fitness has to be some days, a total wash. Like, gosh, I wasn't up for it. And is that okay, is the question. And the big surprise answer I'm finding in my 50s is, yes, it's okay. Sure, it's okay. And I am definitely noticing as I age and as my clients, women especially in their 40s, 50s, 60s, we're rewriting the story about, are we doing this to feel, or are we doing this for our appearance? And all that is okay. Wherever we land on that, it's okay. But that can get quite emotional when we begin to realize, oh, wow, I'm discovering I'm pretty connected to my midsection and my value. And if it doesn't look this way, then what? And that gets pretty deep. But I like to go there. Then what? What happens if there's a number on the scale here? What happens if it's just here? Are you then not good anymore? Where are we going with that? And those are, journal prompts. And if clients want to talk about it with me, if they feel comfortable, great. I want to go there because that's the driver of our trains. So as we age, yes, it's changing. And you read so much too. Social media is swamping us right now with HRT, and we got to strength train. We have to lift heavy. But, all this stuff, it can be very overwhelming. But in the moments of listening in quiet, listening to your own body, that's where the wealth of information lies. It's very different for every single one of us.
Yeah. So you think, you were talking about shame. I think I used to be ashamed that I didn't exercise more, but that didn't motivate me.
No, it's a terrible motivator.
Yeah. It didn't really it just sort of left me in this shame-based, awful place. Do you talk with that with your clients very often?
Yeah, I mean, if they're open to it, sure, because that's what it is. And food, especially too, it's oh, I'm being so bad. I was so bad this weekend. I had cake for breakfast and I tried to be good. So immediately we have an opportunity again for shame in what we're eating, how we're moving, how we're looking, how we're being. And shame again is a big no in the body. So shame makes us a lot less likely to heal. And it's a delicate process, me untangling myself from my own shame and my clients finding ways that they shame themselves. Um, it's just a roadblock that we start discovering it where we didn't even know it existed. For sure, shame is I've done bad. I am bad. I'm wrong. I'm not worthy because I ate something or because I didn't move in a certain way. And then when you're quiet at the end of the day, you might discover, gosh, I had cake 3 times today and it was delicious. It was delicious. And, then I have clients say, yeah, but what if what if it can kill you? What if you really need to stop? Great. Then we start the walk toward stopping. So, or changing how much cake we're eating. But the walk is going to look different. The walk is going to be curious and kind and easy and getting there with a whole lot more compassion. Because terror, like you said, shame and terror are just awful motivators.
Yeah.
They'll scare you into a short change, a change that lasts a month. And then we're so overwhelmed and scared further that usually we stop. So the best motivator to me is your own feel good. I was going to say success, but really it's just, man, when you get 3 days, when you just feel good, there's nothing like that.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
I was thinking of one of the things that I noticed first after trying Tai Chi for, a few weeks and it was really actually maybe 2 weeks, was coming down the stairs and recognizing that my knees didn't hurt.
Oh.
And I've thought, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
That's a good motivator.
Yes.
To eliminate some of those aches and pains. And that to me, when you're talking about, I've always thought about, how my body looks. And at this age, it's becoming less and less of a thing for me. Like, I just don't care. And what have I accomplished with my body? A whole lot. And that's a whole different perspective to take. But just being comfortable and in movement and being able to do what I want to do. I'm able to do better, my beekeeping better if I have more upper body strength. So, okay, how do I want to go about that? Like, that can be an incentive to do more of what I want to do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love it.
Yeah, I think the thing that has surprised me so much just in work with Annie is, like I said, she doesn't say, okay, I need you to get out and walk 20 minutes every day and then do this and do that and do that. It's so manageable. And so I've had to really dig into my own psyche a little bit. And it's like, this is so manageable. So why am I not willing to do it? This is where you have to kind of go, okay, there's a problem. And I start thinking, maybe I think I don't even deserve to, like you start getting in your head. It's like, maybe I don't deserve to feel better or I don't, obviously I don't think that myself is worthy or not. I don't know. That sounds like kind of crazy, but women, I think, are so prone to like doing and doing, doing for everybody else all the time. And so there's this ingrained thing that, yeah, we don't need to take care of ourselves. That's, something that we don't need to do. But obviously, as we've gotten older, and the more I've gotten older, the reason I've realized that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of everybody else. And so it really is a thing of like, yeah, I deserve this time. I deserve to take care of me. And what does that look like? And our bodies are a huge part of that. I mean, I love, like you said, Annie, that you believe healing is spiritual, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. You're such a holistic trainer, which is what I love, And even after we work out, you'll sit down and go, tell me how you feel. Does anything hurt? Like she's very in tune with me, and even as we're working out, you're watching me very closely, and it's just a whole different type of training that I've ever had, and I just have loved it so much. And like I said, a lot of people at the new year are making resolutions to start exercising more. And I just wanted to have you on so we could encourage them that it doesn't have to look the specific way. And if it's not working for you, what you were doing, if you're burning out quickly on it or whatever, there's other ways to do it, and to not give up, to seek out help. I think that's another thing. I had to seek out help. I kept telling myself, I have weights at my house. I have a bike at my house. I can do this on my own. But sometimes you can't do it on your own.
That's right. Yeah. And I love that. Most clients reach out to me when they feel stuck or stagnant, congested. They reach out and say, I'm just not doing it. Some reach out and say, I don't know what to do. And one little tool I love is, as we start to pay attention to what emotion feels like in our body, what success feels like, what feel good feels like, sometimes I ask my clients to write it down. So if you have a good day, when you stood at the sink without pain, I like a journal, just a moment to say, today felt good, close the book. Because despair and shame tend to sink the whole ship. So if we're not keeping track of the good days, often after 2 months, we can say, this really isn't helping, because we're used to push, 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 take care of everybody else. We're used to only feeling something if we're on a Stairmaster for 45 minutes, gasping for air, and then we actually feel it. We're like, oh, I really worked out. But women especially, we might be surprised to learn a minute or two of breathing or stretch or whatever it is. If we're paying attention to what's going on, we begin to feel again. And that's a really important step. So we don't have to abuse ourselves before we feel.
Yeah. What as we were talking earlier, I was thinking about the messaging that we see about exercise and the right way to look or whatever it is out in social media. And it seems like it's, I see people that are hardcore physical athletes, like gym oriented, that kind of an exercise routine. I also see messaging about people that don't do anything. So what it means to be unhealthy. Like there's a lot about that. So there's like these two extremes.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be careful about the information that we take in, because that helps shape how we feel about ourselves. So what kind of resources and things do you encourage people to take in?
Well, I love that you're talking about it, and I'm kind of in my rage phase about some of that because there's so much damage available to us. So nobody gets to tell you you're unhealthy, really, but you. And even a doctor can tell you, gosh, these are dangerous numbers, and we choose whether we're going to hear that or accept it. We choose that. And so I again come back to, how do you feel? And we're not, right now, that's noise. We're shutting that off, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, and the how much protein, and the fear of the number on the scale, or all of that. And we start small with, how do you feel? Are you scared of anything? Is anything eating at you or worrying you about your health? And that's the talk that I had with Marcia the first day. We start there because, nobody, not me, not anybody, gets to tell you you're unhealthy. And like I said, of course, your doctor's going to give you some good information about your health. But it's your choice. What you accept it, you hear it, and you get to decide what's going to change or not change. And that's a very valid part of this as well. Sometimes when I meet with clients initially, we discover, they don't really want to change. And it's a whole lot harder to take on a practice if all your doors are closed. So maybe it's not the time. And there's nothing wrong with that either. that's just, that's a very private individual choice. And if the window's open for some shift, great. We often figure that out pretty quickly.
Yeah. I guess there's no, like a therapist. I remember an old therapist of mine that I had, and she was telling me that she's fired clients before because she's realized they're coming in there, but they're not really wanting to change. They're not listening to her. They're not wanting to do the work. So they're just wasting her time and they're wasting theirs. And she'll say, look, I don't think this is helping, you, and it's a waste of both of our times. I'm here when when you get ready, when you're ready. But if someone's not ready to change, and sometimes it takes pain. Like for me, it was just pain. It wasn't a number on a scale, although yes, of course I'd like to lose some weight, but for me, it was like, I was tired of not having energy and I was tired of being in pain. And those two things, it finally clicked in my head, were not going to change unless I did something to change them.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And you wanted that. Right at that time.
Yeah. And I haven't done it perfect. I mean, I haven't been perfect at all. There have been times where I said I was out of town all week and I didn't do it. And she'd go, okay, I get that. That's what I love. There's no judgment with you. You're not going to go, you should have done it. You should have, we're not getting anywhere. You listen and you go, okay, that makes sense. Let's just get back on track, and it's so cool. I'm just so grateful for everything that you've taught me so far, and I think you're such a cool, special lady. And
thank you, Marcia. Back at you.
So, I would encourage anyone out there. I know if you're thinking you're on the fence and you've struggled and you think that gym culture is not your thing, which it wasn't for me. Training's not your thing. You think all that's not your thing, and you want to approach healing from a holistic place, you should get in touch with Annie. We're going to put, I guess, Instagram. We can get, she's on Instagram. Are you on Facebook too?
I'm on the Facebook as well.
On the Facebook. So in the show notes, we'll have links to her Facebook, to her Instagram. You can reach out to her if you're interested, because I know she does some things on Zoom. Sometimes when I've been out of town, she'll say, well, we can meet on Zoom if you want this week, if and no judgment. You go, or if you want to take a week off, that's fine, And so, anyway, y'all get in touch with Annie. She's a really special lady, special trainer. And I'm just so grateful for you coming on today.
Oh, thank you so much, Marcia. I love talking with you gals. Thanks, Stacy. It's been perfect.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So y'all go exercise, and we'll see you next week on the Fresh Start Podcast. Or don't. Bye, everyone. This episode has been brought to you by God and My Girlfriends Ministries. If you're looking for a faith-based community where everyone is accepted, all beliefs are welcome, and no judgment, check out godandmygirlfriendsministries.org, where you can find more information about our book clubs, both online and in person, upcoming retreats, and all the events in your area. You can also find out about one of our favorite things that we do, our Single Moms Christmas Blessing Ministry. So go check out godandmygirlfriendsministries.org. We would love to have you a part of our community.